Friday, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for watching This Is Now.
We begin with the latest news out of Maui, where crews there are continuing to make progress in battling a wildfire that's burning up country. The Crater Road fire is now at 70% containment. Crews have been working tirelessly since it began nearly 2 days ago. The acreage has been revised by county officials down to 355 acres in size. New photos show the plume of smoke visible for miles from the site. Officials say there is a hot spot in a eucalyptus grove on the Mauka flank that slightly grew in intensity overnight. The department added that it is not a cause for concern, and crews are continuing their efforts today. The fire has been stopped from advancing forward. No homes or communities are threatened at this time, as the fire is located at the 7,000-foot elevation. We'll continue to bring you any updates on this fire on your H&N digital platforms. And we're also continuing our coverage of the deadly helicopter crash in which at least one person was killed off of Kauai's Napali coast. The search continues today for the 2 others. Hours after the crash Thursday, authorities confirmed that one person's body was found floating and has been recovered. People gathered yesterday afternoon at the Ali'i Kauai Air Tours and Charters office at the Lihue Airport. The FAA confirms the company was flying a Robinson R-44. The company's website says it fits 3 people and is approved to fly with its doors off. The chopper crashed off Honokoa Valley around 1:20 p.m. Lifeguards raced to the scene on jet skis. They found no wreckage but recovered that one body about a quarter mile offshore. At last check, police were trying to track down the next of kin. The county's fire chief detailed the response yesterday afternoon.
Our ocean safety officers were actually the members that located the first person about that quarter of a mile off of the shore. Our crews continued to search until we were called due to daylight. However, we were supported by United States Coast Guard, who remains on scene. They'll continue to search overnight. They've provided not only a boat, but air assets as well, multiple. The Kauai Fire Department and Ocean Safety will rejoin the Coast Guard in the morning to continue the search.
The cause of the crash will be investigated by the NTSB and FAA. We're also trying to get in touch with the tour company, Ali'i Air Tours and Charters, which is based in Lihue. New at noon, a man was arrested at Honolulu's airport after several rounds of ammunition were found in his carry-on bag during routine security screening on Wednesday. Anthony Fuller of Honolulu was stopped by TSA after the discovery. Deputy sheriffs were notified and learned that the 35-year-old was not allowed to possess ammunition because of past felony convictions. Fuller was charged with 2 counts of being a prohibited person in possession of ammunition and 1 count of violation of an order for protection. And breaking news overnight in central Oahu, there was a 2-alarm house fire in Wahiawa. You're looking at the wreckage it caused to a home on Koa Street. Crews were first called to the scene around 3:30 a.m. They say they found flames pouring out of the single-story building.
The contents inside when we got on scene was fully involved. So basically we did a exterior attack in a defensive mode. So we did a primary search and nobody was found. At that point we continued with an exterior attack and extinguished the fire.
Firefighters quickly made progress on it and they brought it under control in about 10 minutes. Thankfully, there were no injuries reported. Fire officials did say the home was full of items, making it a bit more difficult to search. And on Maui, there were scary moments for passengers on a flight into Kahului yesterday. This is a Hawaiian Airlines jet that overshot the runway. The flight was coming in from Seattle. Thankfully, no one was hurt. The carrier says there appeared to be an issue with the plane's brakes. One flight was diverted to Honolulu's airport while the runway was briefly closed. The aircraft has been pulled out of service for an assessment. And Hawaii County Police are continuing a murder investigation after they found a man's body in a shallow grave. A tip led officers to the remains of 51-year-old Adam Santos last week Tuesday in Ocean View. He had not been seen for more than a week, but just yesterday an autopsy found that Santos died of blunt force trauma wounds to his head. Anyone with information should call 808-960-3118.
President Biden wrapped up the NATO summit in Washington, D.C. with a solo press conference. But the questions centered more around his campaign than foreign policy as he continues to lose support from some congressional Democrats. Willie James Inman has more from the White House.
President Biden held a rare press conference Thursday and declared again he will be the Democratic nominee, taking on Donald Trump for the White House.
I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
The president spent about an hour answering questions from reporters, mostly focused on his fitness to serve.
Presidency is the most straining job in the world, and it's 24/7. How can you say you'll be up for that next year, in 2 years, in 4 years?
I just got to pace myself a little more. Pace myself.
White House aides and supporters say they believe the president knocked it out of the park.
He was at his best yesterday. I mean, he is most comfortable when he's talking about policy. On foreign policy, frankly, he was more substantive than 90% of people in Congress.
But the president's responses were not flawless.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
Immediately after the event, several more Democratic lawmakers called on Biden to exit the race.
The numbers, the trajectory, what Americans feel in their bones right now suggest not only that Joe Biden would lose this race, but that he or we would lose the Senate and the House.
Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries met with President Biden Thursday night and conveyed concerns from some of his members. CBS News has learned dozens of lawmakers are considering calling on Biden to drop out over the next few days. Willie James Inman, CBS News, the White House.
A New York judge dismissed Rudy Giuliani's bankruptcy case, paving the way for creditors to immediately try to seize his assets. Giuliani sought bankruptcy protection after a jury awarded 2 Georgia election workers $148 million because he defamed them after the 2020 election. The judge cited Giuliani's lack of financial transparency as a reason for tossing the bankruptcy case. Giuliani says he is now worth about $10 million, and nearly all of that wealth comes from the values of 2 apartments he owns. The lawyers for the 2 election workers say they plan to seek liens on those properties in the coming days. Other items Giuliani's creditors can try to seize include his bank account and his collection of luxury watches. Giuliani's attorneys have indicated he plans to appeal the defamation jury verdict, and he may fight them in state court on any liens they seek. State Representative Mark Nakashima of Hawaii Island has died. The former teacher was elected to the House in 2008, representing the Hamakua Coast and parts of Hilo. Nakashima lived with diabetes for nearly 2 decades, and H&N spoke to him last year after he received a kidney transplant. Governor Green has ordered flags to fly at half-staff through the weekend. Nakashima was 61 years old. H&N investigates downed utility poles in West Molokai. Some drivers on Mauna Loa Highway are worried they might get hurt. Residents tell us it's been nearly 2 years since they first reported the hazard. Our Allison Blair found out who's in charge of fixing the problem and when the work will begin.
H&N Investigates confirmed the downed poles belong to Hawaiian Telecom, saying crews are addressing the problem as we speak. A company spokesperson told us the leaning poles aren't considered dangerous, but some residents disagree.
For months, drivers traveling along Molokai's Mauna Loa Highway near mile marker 13.5 have flooded our H&N Investigates inbox with startling images of 2 uprooted utility poles suspended atop vegetation on the steep hillside above the road. When we visited the site last week, we found long spans of cable draped across the ground and tangled in the brush, and more poles that look to be on the verge of collapse. Patricia Hammond says she first reported the hazard almost 2 years ago.
So I called non-emergency to the police department, and they said that they were aware of the poles being down.
After confirming the lines didn't belong to Maui Electric Company, the Mauna Loa resident took her concerns to Hawaiian Telecom.
And they're in the Philippines, so there's no way for the guy in the Philippines to know that the pole is down. He's appalled at what I'm telling him, so he's taking all the information that he can.
How long ago was this?
It's over a year, but close to probably 2.
H&N Investigates wanted to know if the downed wires were a fire hazard. Officials assured us they were not, saying the wires do not carry electrical power. Meanwhile, residents we spoke to are concerned the combination of wind and erosion could cause the teetering infrastructure to fall into the highway.
They're heading straight down a cliff. So just the right amount of wind at the wrong timing, you could get a foam pole blasted through the side of your vehicle. I don't understand why they don't take care of it.
Earlier this week, we asked Hawaiian Telcom to discuss the problem in a sit-down interview, but the company declined. In an email, a spokesperson told us, "We have a crew on island now, preparing to address these poles. Unfortunately, due to shifting foundation, erosion, and other issues, it's not a simple fix and will take some time to address safely and properly." The statement went on to say the leaning poles are not considered dangerous and are not service impacting.
In a follow-up email from Hawaiian Telcom this afternoon, the company told us this work is a priority, saying crews checked on the other poles around the ones that are leaning, and they were deemed solid. Adding repair work will resume on Monday. We were tipped off to this story from a viewer. If you have a problem you'd like us to look into, send us an email at hninvestigates@hawaiinewsnow.com. Allison Blair, Hawaii News Now.
The Honolulu City Council has approved a new task force to come up with a better plan to stop illegal gambling. The group will include representatives from HPD, the prosecutor's office, city departments, and 2 members from the public appointed by the council. They have 90 days to present their recommendations. Today, the judge in Alec Baldwin's involuntary manslaughter trial paused testimony and sent the jury home for the day. This comes as the judge considers a new motion by the actor's legal team to have the case thrown out based on allegations of wrongdoing by investigators. The motion stems from the testimony of a crime scene technician on Thursday. It was about ammunition delivered to the sheriff's office following the conviction of rust armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. Baldwin's attorneys argue that the evidence was not properly disclosed to the defense and accused the prosecution of concealing it. The prosecutor countered that since the rounds were not a match, there was no evidentiary value to the case. The judge has ordered the testimony of additional witnesses before she renders a ruling on Baldwin's motion to dismiss the case. Baldwin faces a felony charge of involuntary manslaughter for the fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the movie Rust in 2021. He has pleaded not guilty. The FBI is investigating a major hack at AT&T. So far, 1 person is in custody. Bradley Blackburn has more on how to know if you're impacted by it and what you should do about it.
AT&T says more than 100 million customers are affected by a breach, which happened in April when records were illegally downloaded onto a third-party platform. The telecommunications giant says it involves phone and text message data for nearly all of its wireless customers for the 6 months between May 1st and October 31st, 2022, as well as a very small number of customers from January 2nd, 2023. According to AT&T, the data does not contain the content of calls or texts or personal information such as social security numbers and birth dates.
Look, this is really about numbers being exposed. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because that's where all of a sudden you start getting texts or calls from unknown numbers.
Daniel Ives is a managing director and senior equity analyst for Wedbush Securities. He calls this a black eye for AT&T. And now customers must be on the lookout for scammers.
My advice is, any AT&T customer, you do not respond to any phone number that you don't know, any text, any call. Do not give any information.
The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency says it is working with AT&T and other government partners to assess the impact. The FBI and FCC are both also investigating. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Let's send you live outside through the eyes of our traffic cameras. As you can see, things are flowing smoothly there on the H1 and Ka'ahumanu. This is looking eastbound. Stay with us. We'll have more news and weather after this short break.
How's it on this Aloha Friday? We're now going into the second month of hurricane season. Still very quiet in the East Pacific and here in the Central Pacific. We do have some showers out there, but they'll favor the early morning and overnight hours for the next several days. And they'll favor windward sides, but rainfall totals will be on the light side. And as far as the winds, they'll remain brisk and breezy for the next several days. So humidity levels will be on the low side. But the downside of that is that the brush fire threat will remain elevated for the next several days until we get more significant rainfall and slower winds. So today it's going to be beautiful after the morning showers pass, but don't rule out a stray shower from time to time throughout the day. Still, the overall is going to remain fairly dry. High temperatures running into the upper 80s because of the abundant sunshine. And we've got some elevated surf over in the east shore, and that's because of the strong trade winds kicking up that wind swell. We also got a small south-southwest swell picking up through today and another bigger swell coming on Sunday. That Sunday swell could trigger a high surf advisory. So overall, the weather pattern is not going to change in any significant way because we have these trade winds blowing brisk and breezy all the way through Tuesday, lightening up expected on Wednesday. And the overall weather pattern says we'll see early morning showers for windward areas, lots of leeward sunshine, and then a few overnight showers, mainly for those windward areas.
Well, there is some new technology helping forecasters at the University of Hawaii. They have developed a new El Nino model that, as our Drew Davis reports, allows them to look even further ahead.
Weather patterns on the global scale make a big difference in terms of the local atmosphere here in Hawaii. You may be familiar with the terms El Nino and La Nina, the ever-rotating weather pattern that starts right here in the Pacific Ocean. Now, researchers at UH Manoa are making great strides in forecasting this climate pattern, so much as 18 months out using a new tool developed on their campus.
So climate weather models now have steady progress since 60s. In every province in 70s, they have been to every 10 years to improve their weather skill by 1 day ahead.
However, the ability to forecast climate patterns like El Nino and La Nina has not advanced as quickly.
Their ability to describe the climate state is advancing. The ability to forecast it skill is not advancing. They get El Nino right now, but we show that they get it for wrong reason. And this, when you do predict, then it's going to be a problem.
Forecasters have developed a new conceptual model that helps rectify some of the previous misunderstandings of the complex El Nino weather pattern. The new model improves the predictability of El Nino and forecasts over 1 year in advance, better than global climate models and comparable to cutting-edge AI technology. Using this tool, the forecast for the next year and a half may be clearer. The Pacific Ocean is currently experiencing a neutral weather pattern coming out of a strong El Nino.
And we predict this coming winter, I think it's a strong La Nina even coming.
As we eventually transition into a La Nina year, this new tool may be able to help forecasters glimpse into the next time El Nino will return. The upcoming La Nina is expected to peak in the winter of 2024 and return to neutral conditions by 2025. Drew Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Hey, happy Aloha Friday, everyone. Davis, Kyle, Digital Center. You know what time it is. It is your weekly sports update. Kyle, lots to talk about. We got to talk about a newly released rankings that just came out for the Mountain West about UH football, but it's not looking too good.
Yeah, Mountain West Media Days over in Las Vegas these last 2 days. Day one, they released the preseason poll, and the Rainbow Warriors football team ranked in at number 9 in the preseason poll. That is fourth to last. So it's a little bit shocking, but for context, last year's preseason poll, Hawaii was ranked at number 10, but finished 8th. It's one of those things where obviously the record doesn't help. The actual win to loss record doesn't help. So that's kind of where they put Hawaii. But, the team is optimistic. Year 3 under head coach Timmy Chang, they're pretty optimistic on this season.
And just so everyone knows, in that ranking, Boise State, UNLV, Fresno State take the top 3 spots. This, of course, doesn't necessarily mean how the season is going to shape out. We're all rooting for UH. Sticking with the topic of football, though, we got to move to high school football. One of the top recruits in the state just committed, Kyle.
Yes, he did. So Campbell quarterback Jaren Calve Sango-Politele is heading into his senior year, and on Monday he had his top 4 destinations, and he made his verbal commitment to the University of California, Berkeley. So he's going to be a Golden Bear in theory. You haven't really officially signed the paper yet, but he verbally committed to Cal, and his top 4 were Utah State, Oregon State, Boise State, and Cal. He ended up going with the Golden Bears, and he, according to 24/7 Sports, he's the #1 recruit coming out of the state of Hawaii.
Really cool, though, to see these young guys pursuing their dreams into their professional careers.
Yep.
Kyle, remember those rankings that I spoke about a little bit ago?
I do remember. 9th place for the UH Rainbow Warriors.
There's another ranking that is favoring the UH Rainbow Warriors, and it's Spam Musubi, everyone. That's right. According to a UH post recently, they said that the Bows rank first for Spam Musubi.
Best in the country. What can you
Kyle, what are your thoughts?
You can't argue that. I mean, one, we might be one of the few states that have them readily available, but they are the best no matter what. So you can't complain. And I love a good bit of internet banter between teams, and so that was all good fun. Well, this is on This Is Now. It's at noon, so it's lunchtime. I think I know what I'm getting for lunch today.
Kyle, what are you getting for lunch?
Probably 3 Spam Musubis.
Oh, I hope you share one with me.
Oh, of course. I'm going to go to the store right now. What you need?
All right, now you guys know what we're getting for lunch. And if you want to keep learning more about what's going on around the state in sports, make sure to check out our podcast, HNN Overtime, with Kyle Sienna and I. Thank you all for watching. Happy Aloha Friday, everyone.
In today's Good News Now, a bittersweet look back at a Las Vegas landmark. Guests, gamblers, and longtime employees are saying goodbye to the Mirage Hotel and Casino. It's closing, and the property's next chapter is already in the works. Morgan Chesky takes us there.
It's time to cash in those chips at the Mirage. According to Nevada gaming laws, the casino has to hand out around $1.6 million in cash and prizes. That's before the doors close for good come next week.
We heard about the big payouts.
Feeling lucky. Feeling lucky.
While others are here for the memories.
Just to see this place one more time. Right. I'm going to be sad to see it go.
When the Mirage opened in 1989, it changed the game. In a town known for gambling and all-you-can-eat buffets, Steve Wynn's Polynesian-themed resort drew in new, upscale customers with high-end rooms, an aquarium at the front desk, a dolphin tank, and a 40-foot volcano that erupted every night. All of it setting the tone for a new era of over-the-top entertainment.
Every property built since 1989 has a little bit of the Mirage. It's either emulating it or reacting to it.
The Mirage was even featured in National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation. Siegfried and Roy brought their white tigers here back in 1990 and stayed until 2003, when Roy was mauled during a performance.
There were so many celebrities and sports people that came in here.
Sammy Mane's been here since day one, through the hotel's 1990s heyday when A-list celebrities were a common sight.
You talk about waiting on Ali, Sinatra, Rickles.
Yes.
Are we leaving anyone out?
Well, one of our greatest time we used to have here a lot, Dennis Rodman, when he came in with Madonna.
But the sands of time keep shifting, and the Mirage's current owners have decided to start yet again from scratch.
I am 100% confident that Hard Rock will provide the new iconic property here.
In a town always looking to the future, time to take one final bow.
When I walk out that door for the last time, I'm gonna look up, look at the building and say, goodbye, Mirage, I love you.
Oh, good times always there in Las Vegas. And good times here in Honolulu, Hawaii. Look at that beautiful day here on this Aloha Friday. We thank you so much for watching.
Aloha.